The IREP Triathlon Podcast is a podcast on high-performance training and racing strategies and is powered by a group of exercise science, sports medicine, and engineer professionals who deliver research-based best practices to make sure that you respond, evolve, perform. We hope you enjoy this episode of the IREP Triathlon Podcast, proudly sponsored by iRepAthletics.com.
All right, and we're live. We're back up. We're all cooking here. So Scott Prosha, head performance coach, IREP Athletics. I am not solo today. I think the last 3 or 4 episodes, which were well over a year ago, I believe. So I'm sorry about that, but we are all back. We'll let you guys introduce yourself. We got Anthony and Colin both on here. But we were away for a good cause. I guess, I don't have a good cause. I was just lazy and getting fat. Coach Anthony, I'm going to speak for you. I think you were doing the same. But Colin, where were you that you haven't been able to hang out with us for a year?
Yeah, so I was definitely not getting lazy and fat. I was sweating it out over in Iraq. I was deployed with the U.S. Army for a year, doing some somewhat secret squirrel stuff. But yeah, so I was preoccupied playing Army, getting bossed around by the big green weenie is what we call it.
Fun times. I don't know what that's like. I know my brother served, and he tells some stories, and definitely appreciate your guys' service and all that you guys do. There's no words I can say to kind of show my appreciation, but we do appreciate it and everything that you do for us, back here. So thank you for your service. I guess I can say that. I can't say that enough times. So, yeah. So we're here at the beginning of 2019, kind of a fresh start. We just kind of kicked off the year. We got a lot of exciting things happening with IREP. I almost feel like we are, we just got a new website launched this week. Colin is back. So we are excited and charged up, ready to, help all our athletes, all our triathletes, all our marathoners, all our cyclists throughout the year this year. And we're working on ways to improve our service to them and bring on new clients. We want to be able to share our experience, share our knowledge, share our coaching practice with athletes. We want more people to have those experiences on the finish lines this year. We've already got some athletes in. We tried a new thing this year. So if you're following us, our Instagram handle at IREP Athletics, you probably saw an Instagram takeover this weekend. We had Chris Segna. She was down in Baton Rouge doing a marathon where she PR'd, by the way. Go, Chris. So we're very excited about that. We're going to be doing that. We are going to try to showcase our athletes all across the world, literally all across the world. We have athletes racing in Ireland, athletes racing in France. So literally we will be on different continents throughout the year, and we're going to do our best to kind of showcase that along the way. So pretty excited about that. I guess if we can get a commercial part out of the way, we are looking to take on some new clients, and we currently have an opportunity. If you are interested in a free swim analysis, a free gait analysis, or a functional movement screen, we have developed a way to do this virtually for you. Basically, you send us some videos, and we'll get that done for you. Anthony will be conducting the functional movement screen. Anthony, you want to talk about the functional movement screen real quick? Give them the 10-second version of what it is and why they should do it.
Yeah, so most athletes that we deal with have some sort of muscular imbalance or mobility issue. The functional movement screen helps to highlight those issues. It's not strength-based. You won't be doing max effort squatting or anything like that. It's 7 simple movements that we use, and it's 3 other clearing tests. We developed a video assessment where you can follow the instructions and email it to us, and I'll give you a rundown of all the things that I see that may be happening that are issues that we can fix with simple corrective exercise. We're looking to talk about the Triathlete's New Year's resolution. One of our bullet points is how strength and mobility is not an option as we go through, and that functional movement screen will help uncover and illuminate, well, what are those issues we should be working on in the gym? What are some of the mobility exercises I can be doing throughout the day to really enhance their athletic abilities, stay injury-free, and push to new PRs.
Yeah, so that's just something that we are going to be offering our athletes. If you're interested in, taking advantage of it, there's no obligation. We're not taking a credit card number. We just want to provide this service out for the community, get them some exposure. I think the swim analysis will be pretty popular, as well as the gait analysis or the functional movement screen. Just email us at perform@irepathletics.com. So perform, because we want you guys to perform on race day, perform@irepathletics.com, and we'll get that handled for you guys. And we'll send you out detailed instructions on what you need to send us.
Yeah,
I guess that's enough. Go ahead.
Well, it kind of ties into the topic today, but having this functional movement or your gait analysis or your swim stroke analysis, it's something that's perfect for the timing of this podcast, because you're just going to compound any injuries or any dysfunction that you have if you just let that injury or niggle go for the rest of the season. So, one of the things a lot of triathletes and endurance athletes have as the, we'll say, a resolution is, stretch more, do mobility, or fix that little niggle that bothers them every season. And, the easiest way to do it is send a video analysis or a video for us, so we can help you point you in the right direction to fix that imbalance or repair that niggle.
Another thing too is I don't think we have a limit on you have to pick one or the other. If you are interested in getting all three done, let us know and we'll send you the instructions for all three, and we'll get that done for you. So you have a real good base as we're starting to head into kind of some real base building part of our season. As the weather's kind of bad right now, what could we be working on? Depending on where you are, it's going to be that mobility. It's going to be that strength aspect, that injury prevention. It's also going to be some of the things that Scott will illuminate in the swim, and things that you could work on through your striding with the gait analysis. So, I mean, if it was me about to race and someone was offering this, I would probably ask if I can do all three. That would be the most bang for your submitting your email.
Yeah, you're non-buck.
You're non-buck.
But yeah, absolutely. So cool. Yeah, I guess that gets the commercial out of the way. But that is something we're offering. I think an exceptional value. I mean, all three of those, if we were doing that a la carte hourly at a commercial gym, you're looking at 3 zeros after one. I mean, that's like $1,000 service, and we'll do it for free. Seriously, we're not going to ask you for one payment option. Just send it to us. We'll get it out to you and we'll get that done. So you guys kind of hinted at our topic for the day. I think it's fitting because we are a few weeks into January right now, on January 22nd. And right about now, we kind of saw that. If you were at a commercial gym, you probably saw that surge. There wasn't a treadmill available the second week of January, and now it's starting to fizzle out. Everybody's New Year's resolutions are slowly dwindling away. What do you guys think of New Year's resolutions? I think everybody makes them. I sent an email to all my team. So the team that Anthony and I work with, I sent them an email saying, I just changed your New Year's resolution. I sent them a list of 10 things that I changed it to. So they have to pick one of them, pick all of them, whatever it may be. That's how I kind of kicked it off. So what's your guys' thought on just in general, the New Year's resolution? What do you guys think about that?
So if you ask me, the New Year's resolution is garbage. I mean, people aren't going to follow it. And I think the big reason is they start with a finish line in mind. I want to lose 30 pounds. And it sounds nice, but they don't start with what's it going to take to get to that finish line. They don't start with the mini steps, the smaller goals. And then what do we always see as well is the New Year's resolution's garbage, because you might lose your 30 pounds and then 5 days later you're back up 15 pounds. Where if you're asking me, again, some simple limiters with a lot of triathletes that we work with is a body composition. And getting weight down to where it should be, getting lean mass up to where it should be. And a lot of people start with, all right, let's get to that finish line, as opposed to let's get to that checkpoint.
Oh.
And then what's that next goal? Especially with weight loss and things like that. And then what are the other resolutions people do besides weight loss? I'm not going to eat bread, that type of stuff. How realistic are those?
Was yours you're not going to shave for the year? I mean, I'm looking at.
Oh, dude, I'm growing a year. My goal is to grow a year. So
last year's.
One year long, and then I'm going to go to a Viking show
with Anthony.
What? I thought for sure Colin was going to be the glass half full guy. Now I have to do that, man.
No, so yeah, I like resolutions and I like goals and stuff, but the problem is setting it every year at the same exact time. They're such emotionally driven, and all your best buds are coming up with their resolutions and you're trying to one up them. And so a lot of people know we're kind of David Goggins suckers. We post, if you follow our Instagram page, we like to post his stuff. And I read his book.
How can't you, not like a guy that's a Navy SEAL, jumps out of stuff into the before he does the Ironman World Championships, and then does bad water, which our ultra runners definitely know what bad water is. 135 miles, and in the middle of that's this little place called Death Valley. A little hot. You got to run on the white line so your shoes don't melt. Pretty badass dude. I didn't read his book. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like those guys go a little too far, and it becomes cliche. Then I tune out. I like when it's raw, but I didn't read his book, so I can't judge.
It was definitely a raw, and how he speaks on Instagram and through his videos is pretty much how he wrote his book. It was very conversational. But the thing I wanted to say was that he talks about how we hatch these dreams and come up with these goals when we're in our softest environment. We're sipping eggnog, eating cookies and stuff like that. We're in a warm house, but we're not actually prepared for the challenges that these goals or resolutions could face. And it's easy to come up with these things when you're relaxing and chilling, but it's not as easy to execute.
Yeah, I think so. Now I guess it's my turn now, right? So I'll read you what I actually wrote, because I put insert cheesy New Year's resolution motivational quote. I didn't even give him one. And I said, if you waited for the giant crystal ball to fall out of the sky to make a change, you'll probably fail. But in any event, here are some things to think about. We'll call it a New Year's resolution or my coach's wish list. So more or less, I was just giving them some hints. But I agree. And just to echo what you guys were saying, I think a lot of people will create bodacious goals. And if we really get down to the principles of creating true SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant or realistic and time anchored, if we create those goals and we really make those and this is something I need to do better with my athletes. Anthony and I have talked about implementing what were we calling it? Basically like a block review. We're going to set goals for each mesocycle or each microcycle, depending on the athlete's needs, to really drive this point home. And that may be, and when we go through some of these things later on, that may be compliance rates, that may be compliance percentages, that may be that they have quality in their tempo run, and they hit 3 out of the 4 segments. And I'm not going to go into like 80-20 rules and all of that right now, but there's definitely some opportunity. So I guess that's my thought on it. I don't know. I guess it's good to do. I definitely think people get some motivation. It kind of kindles a little spark, and we get a little fire going. And if somebody can capitalize on that and take them, to kind of start their training or start something new, I'm all for that. I just think a true, do they really work? I don't know. But I guess we all make them, and that's part of it. So let's go through these resolutions. So I made these up. They're in no particular order, no order of emphasis. I literally just kind of threw up on the email when I was typing this out, and we'll just discuss them. So my number one resolution for the triathletes, it's number one, not the top, but number one was find time leaks and fix them. So this is, we have a lot of people, to me, people have extra time that they don't realize. I don't think people have done an inventory, done an analysis of what their day actually looks like. Are they spending 2 hours on social media? Are they spending 40 minutes at a time on Instagram? Are they falling into a click funnel of videos on Facebook? Whatever that may be, I think there's time that can be had and time that can be made up. And with that, I'll say that the American College of Sports Medicine says that you can accumulate exercise in 10-minute bouts. And if you're looking at our mobility and our strength work that we'll have later on, 10-minute bouts, we can get a lot of mobility done in 10 minutes. We'd probably get half of what we would need to for a joint. The research shows that we need to stretch 20 minutes per day per joint to affect serial sarcomere length. So if we actually want to change that muscle, we need to say it's 20 minutes per day per joint. And that's, we might be looking at something that's a multi-joint muscle. So if we have a biarticular muscle, that's going to be, now we just doubled that.
So some people aren't going to know. Biarticular muscle means it crosses two joints. What would be an example of that? Your hamstrings, common issue. IT band, common issue. What are we going to use, and when are we going to use the modality as a coaching method? That's what I recommend with the athletes is, I don't want you to do an hour worth of stretching at 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I'd much rather you do, hey, let me hit 10 minutes of stretching at 7:30 in the morning, right before I brush my teeth. Let me do 5-10 minutes at lunch. Let me get up from my chair, whatever it is you do. Let me stretch a little bit before or after a run or a swim or whatever. And then if you've got a couple more sets you need to do to finish, do that right before bed. And you've accumulated that 30 to 40 to 50 minutes, depending on what we're working on. Like we have a couple athletes that really need to hit mobility that we prescribe a whole day worth of mobility for. That if you timed it out is about 60 minutes of stretching, but it's going to be more purposeful and it's going to be more relevant if you're hitting it throughout the day, as opposed to that stretch component and then let me get short and tighten while I'm sitting and lifting and whatever else you have throughout your day. I would prefer mobility wise, let's hit some sessions throughout the day. And again, that takes discipline. Can you eat your sandwich in the middle of stretching? Yeah, there's some stretches where you can do that. Or you've got your strength work that's more corrective based, which the FMS will tell us when we talk strength as well, just so you kind of have a definition. Some people it's normal strength training like you would assume, and then some people that strength training is really what we call corrective exercise. We've seen something on the mobility screen that we need to address. Either is the reason you're getting hurt or could be the reason you might get hurt. And there are simple exercises that we start from just to get you going, so we can attack those as well. And having those go throughout the day is a little more doable. I think people can digest 10-minute chunks as opposed to, oh my God, I got to stretch for 60 minutes. Well, I'd rather you do a couple 10 minutes.
Let me add in another one here, because on number 4, I think it ties right into this find time leaks. Number 4, I had be consistent. Your weekly compliance rate should not ebb and flow like the tide. So if I look back to finding time length, how are people consistent? And I think people become consistent by developing morning, evening workout rituals, whatever it may be. And obviously it's preparation. So I know that people are going to be more consistent in their diet if they meal prep on Sundays. I know that people are going to be more consistent if they wake up the same time every day and do their workout. Colin, you're pretty good. You have pretty good at dialing into rituals and morning routines, and just coming off a year of being in the military, I'm sure that builds a lot of consistency, and being consistent in the military is pinnacle to survival, let alone safety and all of that. So anything you want to add for being consistent or time leaks and where you can cheat the system a little bit?
Yeah, so it's ironically or not, my saying right now is commit to consistency, because consistency is what makes athletes great and champions what they are. Is they commit to doing what they have to do every single day. And, the military does that. We set times where we have to be somewhere. And the good thing about the military is we have that social network that we kind of have our battle buddies, what we call them. Uh, if we start to slack somewhere, they'll pick us up. And I think this is where like a coach or your significant other would come in handy is, they'll start to see that you're slacking on the mobility and they can, reset you so you keep that habit going, because habits take a long time to develop, and the habit is ingrained in us, and habits make our lives easier. So to try to retrain yourself and create a new habit, it's painful, and you have to make the commitment to come past it and fight through those difficult areas. But on the other end, it's probably going to be more beneficial, especially with this, with stretching, and yeah, especially with the 10-minute bouts of stretching. I know that's one thing I've been struggling on in the past. I wouldn't find the time to stretch and do that mobility work, but I'm paying the price now. I've got low back pain and all that stuff, and I'm finally stretching 3 times a day. I stretch in the morning, at lunch, and at night, because the pain motivates me enough to finally do it. And it makes a huge difference just to do those 10-minute bouts. I'm not a man with a lot of time. You just got to commit to it.
Yeah.
Well,
so you mentioned something. Go ahead.
Well, how long does somebody have to suffer through changing their habitual day for it to be not suffering anymore? 3 weeks? 4 weeks?
I think
2 weeks?
I think
how long? You know what I mean? If I'm like, I'm going to force myself to wake up at 4 o'clock every morning so that I can go hit this run, go get this mobility in.
I would say it's definitely terrible for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks and once you get past that, I think it starts getting a little bit easier. I think that's the crescendo. Once you get past that 2 week mark, I think things start getting a little bit better. So I guess we'll call it the 2 week rule. If we can get past 2 weeks, I think things kind of go on the downswing from there and it starts getting a little bit easier. But Colin mentioned something about using motivation through a significant other or spouse. I have later on, down towards the end of my list, family first. A lot of us are very selfish in our endurance sports endeavors. We take a lot of time to train. Some people train 20, 30 plus hours per week, and that's time away from the family. I swear in 2013, I spent more time on my bike than I did with my wife. And I'm not even being facetious. I really think that happened. It's a very selfish sport. And what I'm seeing now, and I've seen it multiple times, is I'm seeing the spouse use their training as a guilt trip. Has anybody else seen that? So what I'm saying is, I think the spouse, usually it's a female athlete. I guess it doesn't have to be a female athlete, but it's just been multiple of my female athletes. They have a spouse that may not be getting the attention that they want. So they make them feel guilty about their workout. So they're using it as a tool to get their spouse's attention. So is it a sign that they really need that attention, or is it a tool in the male's tool bag to get the attention that he wants, or whatever his ulterior motive is there? But I'm seeing that quite a bit, and I think it has it's definitely having a negative effect on some of my athletes' work schedules. I have built in. I know for some athletes, we actually go and we'll accommodate their schedule with rest days or whatever it may be, or off days around the schedule, and they have kind of set time that they spend with their spouse, and that seems to work out well. So there has to be a balance there, and definitely a work-life balance and a training-life balance does come into play. But that's just something I thought I'd mention, because I definitely think you need that person on your team 100%. You need your family in your corner, or it's not going to work 100%. But I've seen it actually kind of twist and be used as a tool against the athlete.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Colin's is more of our psychology guy, but I think everybody in any sort of relationship gets threatened when something seems to be higher priority.
So I think the problem is that, sorry to interrupt, but I think the problem is, so I encountered this situation with my significant other, because I was when I first joined IREP Athletics, I was actually an athlete, and Scott and Anthony were coaching me back from a serious injury. And I didn't commit, or I didn't communicate with my wife, kind of the commitment that I was making. And I think a big problem is the significant other takes on this challenge or this goal to do their first Ironman, and they don't fully understand. The athlete doesn't fully understand the commitment, and then they don't communicate with their significant other or their family kind of the commitment that they're going to have to make, and that family is still important for them, but they still have to, there's going to be some sacrifices made, at least for this training period. And especially in this new age, I think communication is a lacking skill and something that we're not developing as well. We're resorting more towards texting and this not personal relationships. And I know I struggle with it from time to time, but actually sitting down and having a verbal conversation with your significant other and your family about the commitment that you have to make to do this kind of training or work.
Yeah. So definitely, keeping them in the loop and involving family, it has to be centerpiece to anything that we do. And when you lose that, bad things happen. So keep family out front. I try to tell all my athletes that, and we'll make the concession in the training when we need to, if that starts deteriorating. So
and
there's nothing.
Going back to David Goggins, he's gone through 2 wives and a bunch of relationships because I don't think he was good at communicating with his significant other, or he was just a little too hardcore and honestly selfish about his antics and his goals, that he lost a lot of people in his life that were probably important to him, but he wasn't good at communicating.
Oh, that's interesting. So, all right, next up on the list, I got this one I can't stand. No cheat meals. So, Anthony and I think we've talked about this extensively about the cheat meal. So, I don't even know why they call it a cheat meal. Like, if you're cheating, it should make you better, not worse. Now, in that same breath, I will 100% say in some athletes' nutritional protocol or their nutritional plan, a refeed is a very strategic option and something that should be in their plan if the circumstances are right. But a cheat meal where somebody wants to feel better, to go have a pizza on a Friday night and go drink beer and ice cream or whatever it may be, I see no place in that for somebody who's a very serious athlete. I don't know, is that kind of like a retail therapy where somebody buys something when they hit to make themselves feel better, or they buy themselves something when they hit a goal? Is that is a food used as that same way? I just don't. I don't know. I had a hard time buying into the cheat meal, and I don't know. Somebody else talk about that.
Yeah,
what do you
I
guys
don't
think
think
about cheat meal?
so. I'm going to take the opposite, the devil's advocate here, and say I don't like the wording cheat meals. I'll go with that. But we're not professional athletes. We're doing this. Well, I don't think any of the IREP athletes are actually professional athletes. We're all amateur athletes. So, live a little still. It's okay to have a beer with your friends and occasionally eat sugar, but it has to be controlled. And
So I'm gonna go right there, because this is my issue. These people come up with this bodacious goal. I want to qualify for Ironman Kona. Do you really? Do you really want to qualify for Ironman Kona? Because that is the pinnacle of the sport. There's only, 2,500 slots on the pier? That is the pinnacle of the pinnacle. It's the apex of the sport. It's the only, it's the, I don't know what percent it is, but it is the top, if you're a female athlete, you got to win your damn Ironman. You got to be in first place. And I can tell you that unless those people are just a really gifted athlete, they come from a collegiate background where they made the sacrifices somewhere else, where they were a Division I swimmer and they swam 20K a day for 3 weeks straight, and maybe that's a low number. I don't even know what their training camps look like. They put in that work somewhere to give them the ability to do that. Do you really mean your goals, or are you just saying it because that's the sexy thing to do? That's the, that's what it would be nice, but do you really mean it? And I think that's some, and maybe that's our fault as coaches, that we let them have that bodacious goal, and we don't. It's hard. Somebody comes to you. I think if somebody, I think anybody, a complete beginner, you give me 3 years. If they could really do the plan, every single thing I write down, in 3 years, I can get them to Kona. And I'm not saying I think Brett Sutton did this once. I can't remember the athlete's name, but he made her basically a pro triathlete. And I think it took a couple years. If you have enough time, go ahead.
I think too, though, like with the cheat meal, like that's like saying to me, I'm going to quit cigarettes, and then I'm just going to have a cigarette every week. I'm going to have one cigarette a week, but I quit. Like, yeah, that's better than smoking every day, but you didn't quit cigarettes. You know what I mean? You didn't achieve your goal. My goal, going back to New Year's resolutions, right? So my goal this year was to do what we're talking about. Instead of setting a finish line, setting a checkpoint. I want to get down to a good weight for my personal self and use that as a jumping off point to continue with the year. And that's, again, personally, I mean, it's going to be hard. And I've done some things that I think have got me in the right steps going so far. And one of them was cutting out, getting sugar for me, again, as close to zero as I can in a day. I don't need simple sugars in my life. I get some Greek yogurt in my protein shake to get some fats and a little bit of carbs. But besides that, there's no simple sugars anywhere in my diet. I started drinking water. Now I like water. This is week 3.
Isn't it amazing how water works?
Yeah, water works, but
you even get some Perrier or some LaCroix in there.
Right. Well, we like, to me, I'll throw some, like if I'm feeling a little crampy, I'll throw some sea salt in there, in the water, just so I can get through my workouts and things like that. But it's funny how much you don't need this stuff. And again, I'm starting week 3 of my little adventure, and it has gotten a lot easier to follow my simple protocols. And then here, another thing people don't realize is how much cheaper it actually is to eat healthy. Everybody wants to say it's more expensive. False. That is 1000% false. One, the low quality foods, I'm going to go buy a box of cereal. Like, you can eat a box of cereal in a sitting. Like, that could be I think, one day.
I'm going to justify this for you. So you're saying from a nutrient density standpoint, not necessarily a quality standpoint. Because so I know what you're saying. I just wanted to clarify that, because somebody's like, dude, well, the 100-calorie snack pack of whatever crackers, it's 100 calories and it costs me 3 times as much as the regular calories. The marketing is amazing that society's allowed to do that, by the way. It's criminal.
It is still actually a cracker. It's still a cracker, and with an ingredients list longer than the email you sent. Like, it makes no sense. If you can't grow it or kill it, don't eat it. It's super simple. A box of rice is what, like $2? And for one person, a whole box of rice could probably last a week.
Yeah, we were against rice for a while, but we're letting it come back. White rice is okay. Nobody really has a problem with white rice, unless you have a major gluten problem or something like that. Yeah. We were getting hardcore, no gluten, no wheat, barley, rye, and we're letting it come back in. So
exactly,
do that in our workouts.
And I think the cheat meal just it just sets you back. I don't know a lot of people. Again, going back to the problems. Like Colin says, we're not dealing with pro athletes most of the time. We're not dealing with the guy or the girl that is walking around at 10% body fat, lean and strong. Yeah. We're dealing with the weak, low mobility, poor body comp.
So I guess that's And that's the exact reason. So I think the population, so these age group athletes are, ex-athletes, or maybe they are new to the sport. I see a lot of adult onset swimmers. So they were able to swim without drowning before they started triathlon, but they don't, they never took a competitive stroke. Or they were a competitive swimmer and now they've never really ridden a bike before. They rode a bike as a kid, but they never rode a triathlon bike. They've never been in the aero position, and running was probably their punishment in any sport that they played. It goes, so there's that. So they're new to the sport. It is a niche sport where we blend these three disciplines. And if you really want, that goes back to if they really have this bodacious goal and they really want to get there, well, then there's no cheat meals. And I guess that's the person I'm trying to speak to. Like, if you really mean it, then there's zero cheat meals, because there's no wiggle room. There is zero wiggle room for a lot of these people. They need to do everything right all of the time, and they need to follow the plan 100%. And I haven't had somebody yet that has followed the plan 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got one close.
Because
close.
Because
and what happens? The best results we've ever seen.
Yeah,
we got best DEXA results that we've ever seen, best compliance rates that we've ever seen, and is doing great and so
crushing it. And then a guy, one of the athletes I just saw the other day who is using me just as a body comp change. He doesn't want us to help him with his swim, bike, run, but wanted help with the strength and nutrition aspect. In body results have him down 17 pounds in 2 months and up 4.5 pounds of muscle. So
yeah,
he's doing a complete body composition change, and that's a little over a 3-to-1 ratio, losing 3 pounds of fat and gaining a pound of muscle. That is, that's unreal.
So I guess we should say, so that wasn't DEXA scan. Anthony and I both in our labs have gotten in-body bioelectrical impedance machines. So it's like a $10,000 super bioelectrical impedance scale. These things have been great. We got a lot of people through them. Our students have put a lot of people through them. We're getting a lot of feedback, and we can dial in and look at some extremity segmental lean analysis and a segmental fat analysis, really see where this weight is going, whether we're gaining that muscle and or where we're losing the fat, which has been very insightful, as well as it shows some things like the visceral fat score. So a visceral fat score over 10. So that's the fat that we hold around our internal organs, the real dangerous fat that causes diabetes, coronary artery disease, etc., and a lot of metabolic problems. We have that. We have that score to kind of dial us in, and that's from a health standpoint. Like, that's your health. You get diabetes, you're done. Like, you're on insulin or you die. That's scary to think about. So
the problem is, so I'm gonna keep hammering the other side of this is, there's only so many things that you can change in an athlete. And I know when you sent this list of 10 things, the first thing that came to my mind was like, man, this is a laundry list of goals. Especially with a new athlete or even some of the experienced athletes, you got to, and like you said yourself, there's only been one athlete that's stuck to the plan 100%. So you got to pick and choose, like, what are you going to stick to? On a global scale, I think diet is extremely important. I mean, yeah, nutrition is what fuels your body. It keeps you going. But with that said, having a beer, it looks like Anthony just left.
We'll pop him back on.
But what I was saying is that diet, having that cheap beer, not cheap beer. I don't like that word, but, having that beer with your friends once a month or even once every other week is fine. It's not going to kill you. It's not really going to hurt your goals. But yes, when it becomes like once a week on this day, and then it spreads farther. So if you're coming in as an athlete that has a little, is actually overweight and has this goal, then maybe diet is the thing that you should focus on.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome. Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was just crushing. I was still taking the other side of this argument.
Yeah, I mean, there's always two sides of things. It's not. I think it's where Scott is saying, and I'm unfortunately I missed what Colin said with Skype cutting out on us, or on me, I should say. But so I think it goes back to the goal setting. What is the goal?
Yes.
And,
Yeah, that's exactly
and,
what I was saying in my head when you guys were talking. Like,
and
what?
and where are you trying to get to? You know, like, is it I just want to finish and have fun with my friends? That's that's different. But
Yeah.
again, that might be your first triathlon, but I tell you what, when people come back, it's always about hitting new PRs and getting new goals and hitting something lofty. To get better than you were before, there has to be some sacrifices made.
Yeah. And I get it. We're programmed as humans to, want to eat this sweet, sugary stuff. It's just so abundant now, where it wasn't in, heck, even, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Like, it just wasn't available like it is now. It wasn't as easily and as portable. And you go to a gas station and get whatever you want. So we're trained, for that. We're also trained to, are ingrained in us to store that. And that's just something that we have to deal with. But one thing that we are in control of is every single day we have a choice of what goes past our lips. And if we plan accordingly, we should be able to make really good choices. I think, I don't know. I just think it's being soft. And maybe that's what it sums up to me. Like, if you're going to, do you really have to eat that? Or what are you trying to, you're soft. I don't know we'll move on. I guess, Colin, you want to get a more positive point. I don't know. We'll move on from cheat meals. How about that? The next one is go hard.
Oh yeah.
And now, when I say go hard, what I mean by this is not like, oh yeah, that was hard for me. I was really sweating. No, not go hard for you. Go really hard. When the plan calls for hard, not just hard for you because you've been a pussy for so long, and a little bit is hard. Like, you need to suffer. You need to be like, there's like almost like this internal rage and like this intrinsic motivation that you have to have when the plan calls for hard. And I talked about this before on one of our real early podcasts. I remember staring at the wall in my basement, and nobody was home yet. I would do my threshold workouts before anybody got there, and I would literally be screaming at myself. I don't know what, just embracing the suck. Like, it was funny. It was almost like I would be laughing at the pain, and laughing at the suffering, or more or less, I don't know. Maybe I was laughing at myself because why the fuck am I doing this in my spandex shorts and a heart rate strap, and I'm on this bike staring at a concrete wall? Maybe that was it. I'm just, but whatever it was, I don't know. And maybe that wasn't hard enough, but I really feel like some people, their interpretation of hard is uncomfortable, and they need to go way beyond being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and go hard.
And this is when you're calling out the soft athletes. I think this is really where you call out the soft athletes, because you need to get to that point where you are asking yourself, why am I doing this? But you need to have that answer on why you're doing that ready for you when you get to that point. But you need to get to the point where you're questioning yourself because of how much that sucks. And I'm more of an internalized athlete, so I won't verbally scream. I think that's kind of awkward and dorky, but I'll have the same arguments inside my head. Like, I always laugh at the guys who grunt and stuff at the gym, but I equivalent what Scott's do. I mean, you guys are both power lifters and triathletes, so that's where that comes from. But I'll have those conversations.
Don't throw us both in the triathlete bowl. I'm not going to claim that I am the strength and injury specialist.
If you're watching the video,
not running.
Anthony's actually. I do believe Anthony is actually on a workout bench right now.
I am on my weight bench. I am on my weight bench.
You don't mess around. That's going hard right there.
I don't fuck around. I was about to get a set in. I think that's why the video cut off. I just want to look swole. I want to look swole in the background for everybody. I think if you go back to it too, there's that strength training component allows you to get through to that shit. This sucks. This is the worst thing I've ever done in my life, because you can suffer through that pain. I think we have a lot of athletes that are newbies at everything when it comes to swim, bike, run, strength, etc. And they're not used to going hard at all. I remember a student that I had a long time ago. He's a real good friend of mine now. And we were lifting. And, I found out later on that he was bipolar and stuff like that. But his sister was a teacher at the school that I teach at, and asked if I could let her brother lift with me. And we were lifting, doing, I like to do some heavy reps and things like that. We're lifting, doing like sets of 20 or whatever. And I remember him looking at me. Me and him laugh at it now because he knows I'm actually not this motivational. But he looked at me at like rep 5, and was like, dude, how do you keep going when it burns? And I told him, you just keep going. And that little phrase, we laugh at it now because he knows that I'm a dick. I wasn't trying to be motivational. I was just being a dick. But that, from his perspective, changed how he looked at a lot of things in life. He wrote a big little kind of thank you note on Facebook that his sister shared with me. And it was pretty cool to see something that just being simple, how much that can actually change your whole outlook on a lot of things. And not just the workout, but getting into that mindset where like, yeah, this is painful, but there's a goal involved. There's a reason why you just keep going, you keep pushing, you keep going hard, which I think relates to some of that other stuff, the bullet point you haven't gone to yet, and is training with a purpose. Are you going in, and I'll talk it from the strength side. Are you going in knowing like, yeah, this is going to suck, but I probably could do X amount of weight, but I'm going to step it back. I'm going to do Y amount of weight because I don't want to go hard. I don't want to be sore tomorrow. I don't want to X, Y, and Z. You've got to really have that mindset with your workouts to make them purposeful and to make sure that you're getting better every day. I joke with my athletes, I call it G-bed, like get better every day. And that might be one more set. That might be one more pound. That might be, one more stride, a little harder, or whatever it is in the pool or in the swim or in the bike. Things to think about.
Yeah, I love that saying, G-bed.
Yes.
It definitely resonates with me. I'm going to pull the soft millennial talk out there.
So,
Anthony,
you said
G-bed, hashtag I recommend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's something there.
That's the next T-shirt. Yeah. So I think mantras are definitely cool. Finding your own mantra. Yeah. TM. But mantras are cool. Having a mantra that works for you. Embrace the suck is one I've been using with athletes. I read it first with Chris McCormick. I think I don't think he was the first person to say it. I forget in his book where
they actually say that a lot in the military.
Yeah, that's the where I from my understanding where it originated, which definitely makes sense. But Anthony, you talked about the purpose a little bit, and if you don't know the purpose, ask your coach. We did just ask. If you don't know what the purpose of this workout is, ask. I promise you will answer. And if it's me, as soon as I have the opportunity, I'm like relentless. I try to answer as soon as I possibly can.
He's not lying either, by the way. It's like, I think
somebody will email me something that's really a question for.
He hates having something hanging over his head or something that seems like it's not going to get answered. So when it comes to the email stuff, he'll get back to you if it's not within 30 minutes.
And I know, Scott, you're talking about like on a micro scale of like, what's the purpose of the workout? But, on like the meta scale, that like you have to have a strong why on why you're on the reason you got into triathlon and stuff. And you always have to keep that in your head. And a coach can definitely remind you, because during our intake, we're going to ask you your motivations and your reason on why you're doing this. So there'll be times where you're getting deep into the periodized training plans and you're hurting and you're suffering. You're starting to question why. And that's a good point for the coach to be like, you got to remember your reason why you're doing this.
Yeah.
And now you can also talk about the purpose of specific workouts and how that plays into the big plan.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that there's a couple things there. So the purpose, one thing we revamped our training library, and I tried to put a point and then a metaphor into those a lot of those at least the quality workouts. So really, so that they were a little more purposeful. And maybe that that things are definitely, we're increasing our specificity as things go on. So the races, the training is starting to look a lot more like race day as we get closer, and that just makes sense, right? But on that macro scale, so if you zoom out, why did we get started? That's an interesting thought to me. I think everybody has some secret goals, and those are probably the most important goals, right? Those are the goals that you don't tell anybody about. Like those are the ones that you keep in. You don't even tell your spouse about those. Like those are things that are really deep inside you. And I think unfortunately some people lie to themselves on those secret goals. So that's something to think about. As far as that goes. The other thing is I think a lot of these goals, somebody signs up for a marathon or an Ironman or a half marathon or whatever it may be, it scares them a little bit. And that's actually the reason they did it. So if they knew they were going to finish, if they really knew, they wouldn't be interested in doing it. I know I wouldn't have been interested in doing it. So it's that, that fear definitely has some components. So we're actually striving for that fear, which is an interesting thing to think about when it comes to that bigger purpose.
Yeah, so and when we were talking about the purpose too, and I'm reading the email, and I remember Scott asked me a really good question on our ride to work or from work. We usually have a little chat session every other day or so, and he asked me this question, and I think it's really relevant here. You want to ask it and just think about it. Colin, I don't know if he's heard this question yet.
Well, ask Colin the question.
I'll ask him. So if you think about it, how long have you been typing on a computer, Colin?
All my life. So I would say 28 years.
So almost all your life, 28 years. Are you the best typist in the world right now?
Not even close.
Okay.
Why? I remember Scott asked me this question out of the blue, and I didn't know what we were talking about. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good. But he's like, why aren't you the best?
Yeah, it's something you've been doing that craft for 28 years or however many, you've been doing that for 15 plus years. Okay. Well, you're just doing it every day. Like you're just checking off the box. Like you're just doing it. There's no purpose. But if you trained, it'd be completely different, right? Like you would improve dramatically if you focused on your typing. Like maybe your right hand pinky sucks, and that's taking you from 80 words per minute. And once you really worked on that right hand pinky, now you're up to 92 words per minute. I don't know. I'm just making shit up. But there's people that type every single day, right?
Yeah, that's really relevant.
Right, but they never get better. Like, why aren't you the best? If you've been doing it for that long, why aren't you a goddamn expert right now? Like, why aren't you the best fucking typist ever? So that's the same thing when you think about this endurance. Yeah, you run every day, but why aren't you getting faster? Because you're just running. Like there's no focus, there's no purpose, there's no emphasis, there's no going fucking hard. So we just go through. So I don't know. And the podcast on that.
That was awesome.
Point done. But, I mean, seriously though, like when you asked me that question and then we got into it, I'm like, damn, like I kind of suck at typing. But when you first asked, I'm like, I think I'm decent.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
exactly.
Why can't I do it with my eyes closed, looking at a screen way over on the other side of the room and just freaking hammering out words?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
When do you even start typing class? Like
now you're going to start.
Like,
I was now start thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm older than Colin, obviously, but
yeah, I don't remember when we started. I think elementary school.
Right, like it's such a simple thought question that really got, I think, this whole idea of the New Year's resolution and got my brain thinking as well. Is like, shit, like, why aren't I the best typist? And then that's where it is. It's the purpose in the training. It's the being consistent. It's the going hard aspect,
It's almost like that mic drop moment where Scott just drops his mic and walks away because he's made the point. I think everybody's going to resonate with that.
We'll leave that. So let's move on. We have 2 more, and I guess we'll leave sleep for last since we are coming up on the hour. I think there'll be a good one to kind of end on with sleep. But we have make strength and mobility happen. So Anthony, I know you're pretty passionate about this. You do a lot of the programming as far as the strength and mobility goes. I think a lot of our endurance athletes look at this as just optional. Like, yeah, it'd be really good when I can get it in, but it's not something that's important to them. And I get it from a specificity standpoint. Like they, from their view, oh, well, I might as well get if I'm going to get if I can only get one workout in, I'm definitely doing my run. It's never going to be the strength. And that's probably that's probably the right answer. That's probably the right answer. But how come they're never getting in? Like, how come sometimes it just misses across the board every single time, or you don't like, but you have time to make social media posts. Like, that's what kind of goes up before.
I think the big problem is, it almost wish we did this podcast back in October. Like, all right, everything's done. What are you doing in the off season? Well, what are we going to attack in this off season? Let's attack your limiters. You had poor mobility. You couldn't swim because you had no shoulder mobility. You couldn't hit good bike strokes because you had no hip mobility. You couldn't run very well because your hips are crashing because your glutes are weak. When do we really want to attack those, and when are we able to make those gains? The most efficient way is let's crush that in the off season. So then when it comes to the in-season work, it's maintenance lifts. It's just like a football player would do. They go hard in the spring, hard in the summer. That's their off season. There's no games being played. What I think a lot of people do is, and what happens with us is they come to us late a lot of times if they're new clients. And
because we can fix them because they come to us because they have a problem and they're looking for a solution. And that, yes, we do have the solution, but
and the lifts are they're no longer lifts to get you to a next level. They're lifts and strength work and mobility exercises to fix a problem. In season, that's totally different. A triathlete's in season. When would you say that starts? January? Maybe February at the late time.
It really depends when when their race is. I mean,
like on an average person,
end of December, January, that's when they're starting to kick up.
Right. I mean, these people need to start thinking about when is their off season, so that, I mean, it is hard if you're new to be like, I'm sore from the run and the bike, and then Anthony's got me doing back squats or TRX squats. Like, it's hard. And I think they don't see the carryover effect yet at this point. Because they're so sore, they're not able to see that finish line where we've got to get them through the initial soreness phase, and they'll eventually stop being sore, but they don't see it as a priority because I don't feel they see a direct correlation. But that's because we're not able to progress throughout a in season as well as if we had an off season. Again, I'm going to talk about the athlete that lost 17 pounds of fat, gained 4.5 pounds muscle. We were talking, and he's like, all I did November, December, and a little bit of January was your strength work. I did a little bit of running, not enough, not a lot to say so. I did your strength work you gave me, which is a mix of some suspension training and normal fun foundational strength work, and we have him going through a whole periodization. And he came up to me, he's like, dude, I've got friends asking me what I did, and I tell him I just been strength training. And he said I'm able to rattle off 8-10 miles like I'd never been able to do before, and that's because he can put more force into the ground. He can propel himself forward more without as much effort because he's stronger. His strides and his hip mobility and his hip strength is where it needs to be because his hips aren't collapsing. His knees aren't collapsing as much as they probably were before. As opposed to having a bunch of side to side swing with his hips, those strides are going forward now. And that's where the importance of the strength is. And obviously, if you're injured, we need to attack those quickly to get rid of them quickly. And again, there's a very strong relationship between those athletes who have done the strength work and see it as something important, that also get over the injury bug quickly. And our real good compliant athlete comes to mind. She had some plantar fasciitis stuff starting to creep in. She attacked the strength work for the last 4 months. I mean, really going hard, probably even longer than that. And hit her with the mobility, and we hit her with the rehab stuff, and that went away rather quickly. As opposed to somebody who doesn't have that mindset to keep that strength work and mobility happen.
It might never go away. Now, one thing to think about, which I want to mention, is strength work actually improves mobility. So doing a deep squat improves mobility. It improves stability, but it also improves mobility. And people forget about that. We're very one-dimensional as endurance athletes. I mean, we spend most of our time in the sagittal plane, yet we have frontal plane involvement, especially with our, we'll see contralateral hip drop in almost every gait analysis of somebody that all they do is run. But Anthony, I got an article idea for you, and I'm going to call it set points. So what comes to your mind when I say set points, when we're talking about strength and mobility and all of that? So to me, I think about, if we can elevate that set point, and the same thing happens with, weight loss. So when somebody has to hold that weight for a certain period of time, and they kind of get a new set point, their metabolism kind of surrounds it. They kind of get out of that, that response phase where they're still under the alarm, in the alarm phase of the response system. I think we need to make new set points. And I think with strength, I think a set point that you can establish in the out season, we don't have off seasons, but in the out season, will definitely pay its dividends later on. 100%. Most of it, especially like a marathon, these long running events, it's a strength endurance sport. And that's the only reason why I was able to do well at 200, and I think I did Ironman Louisville at 218 pounds. I shouldn't be able to go 9.5 hours at that weight. It's a strength endurance sport, 100%.
And you did well. It wasn't like you finished 17 hours. You pretty much crushed it. And anybody listening can go look your statistics up. Pretty ridiculous for someone over 200 pounds. But another thing people, I think, forget is strength is consistent. It's not exciting. It's not changing all of the time. Scott's talking about set points. The worst thing I think to happen in the fitness world when it comes to athletic endeavors, when it's to like lose weight and I just want to move, that's different. But when it's to be an athlete, your workouts need to be consistent, not just daily, but you're doing the same lifts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you're on a 4-day split, whatever works there. Your Monday this week is the same as Monday next week, is the same as the following Monday. It's not as, the triathletes, they get kind of spoiled with, all right, you're going to go do these things in the swim, and no swim almost seems like it's ever the same, and every bike is always different, and you've got all this different stuff with the run. The opposite needs to happen in the strength so that you will get those adaptations we need. Now, I might increase a rep, I might increase sets, I might increase weight on you, and that's to make the volume change a little bit so that you are progressing. But in terms of changing the squat to something else, we need you to squat long enough so you are good at it. Yeah. Not so.
You better hope we don't have any CrossFitters listening to this, or you're in trouble.
Oh my God! I mean, CrossFit.
I didn't mean to open. I didn't mean to stop.
Nah.
Don't.
CrossFit's great. Good for getting in shape. And getting fit. I also know a lot of CrossFit guys that'll, again, what's the goal? CrossFit is very community. Very good job at keeping you in shape. I'm not going to crush CrossFit or anything, but I've never met anybody who does CrossFit who's also on the XFit games. I have some friends of mine who do CrossFit who, are hang cleaning the same amount they did 10 years ago. And again, it's training with a purpose. And CrossFit's great, but CrossFit training is the goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The goal of CrossFit is to be good at CrossFit. The goal of CrossFit is not to be good at triathlon. That's where the strength and mobility needs to be specific to triathlon or marathon endurance. It needs to be specific. And in that out season, we can hit those things that are, and again, if you just think of a whole mesocycle and get into the macros, it should be a reverse periodization effect. Scott and I talk about this all the time. What do football players do? Way in the spring, it's sets of 12 and 15 and stabilization. In the summer, it gets to sets of 5 and power. And then in the in season, it's maintenance lifts. They want to be as powerful as possible so they can pop those people. If we can do it with the strength correctly, we're going to kind of reverse that. We want to create that power first, then build up to that endurance, and then in season, your maintenance. We're not dealing with we're not trying to get stronger. We're trying to keep what we got in that off season.
All right. Well, we're getting close on time. We are to the last one, so we're going to talk about sleep a little bit. So what everybody's obviously sleep is probably the most beneficial thing. So all of this strength training, all this endurance training, the only thing that we're doing during that time is breaking down tissue. So we would be, am I coming through, guys?
Yes. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry. I saw that. So, but we're breaking down tissue. The only time that we recover is when we're sleeping. So we need to recharge our body. I guess just talk about some sleep hacks. I think one thing that happens, and a lot of triathletes are kind of, subject of this is, we have a lot of people, they get sleep deprived, or we have somebody that works third shift, or we have somebody that pulls a 24-hour shift, or somebody that works overnight a couple nights a week. Like that, is going to make them insulin resistant, 24, 36, 48 hours after that event occurred. And that is catastrophic, not only for their metabolism, but also their body composition. So really trying to take advantage of sleep when we can, and it's free. Like this is the best boost you could do to your performance is really work on your sleep. I think some people, especially our heavier athletes, probably need to go do a sleep study. They would probably benefit from a CPAP. 100%. I think I'm not your doctor, so I'm not going to make that recommendation. But go see your doctor, go do a sleep study, and then we go into all the biohacker style things. Where, Colin, you're probably into all this stuff. Do you have like the blue light glasses and shit?
Damn. Yeah, I did that.
Yep. I figured.
Call them out.
Yeah. So, you got blue light glasses, kind of, putting electronics down 2 hours before bed, dark curtains, sleeping in a dark room, keeping it cool. Kind of all those things will help improve sleep, quality and actually being able to fall asleep. I've always had a problem. I've always been a night owl. My athletes are probably listening to this and being like, well, dude, you're just telling me to sleep, but you're emailing me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I know. I'm not the best at sleep, but I had to make it. Yeah. And what I will say is when I do sleep and I do it consistently, I perform better. I don't get sick. And it's so evident that sleep is vitally important. And when you think about circadian rhythms and you think about just nature, like if you think about light cycles and how often, like what the hell would a caveman do at night besides just sleep? Like, really, what is,
So with that, I mean, it is about the cycle. So with all the technology we have these days, if you're working third shift, then you can set your room up to be dark. I mean, you're still going to be somewhat messed up by the fact that you're going to work when it's dark out and you're coming home when it's bright out, but you could still, it's just like when you wake up, you have to have those routines to get you in the right mindset to go to work. The same thing is at the end of the night, you have to go through these routines to get you into that sleep mode. So, a lot of people say crossing that threshold, like your bedroom, don't have a TV in your bedroom, turn your cell phones off when you cross that bedroom door. When you lay in bed, it's for sleep and sex, and that's it, and nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that sums it up. Yeah, just go to bed, guys. Go to sleep. And that kind of, I think that, did I miss any? The only one I have is a 10th one. And I actually, the way I wrote it to them was, I had a 10th one, but too many people would have been offended. So you'd have to guess. And I will say, because somebody asked me and I told them, I said, the title was Exit Strategies. Anthony knows what I'm talking about with that. Exit Strategies, I think, is its own podcast topic. We'll hold that off, but it's called Exit Strategies. And that was the theme for that one. And I wasn't ready for some people to be, I was feeling good around the holidays, I guess, when I wrote this, and I didn't want them to start feeling bad about themselves. There was enough bad stuff. Oh, there is one more bike. Colin, I'm putting you on this one. I'm going to throw you on the spot right now. So I said, improve your bike maintenance knowledge. There shouldn't be an athlete on our roster, an athlete on our squad that is scared to death of getting a flat tire in race day and have no idea how to change a tire. They've maybe done it once, but they really don't know how to do it. If you dedicate yourself to learning one bike maintenance skill a month, by the time a year's over, you can do just about anything on a bike. Colin, can I put you on the spot right now and say, can you develop this video series for athletes to follow along with?
Yeah, definitely. And especially because my first triathlon race at New Orleans, my freaking rear cassette came off and I had to fix it on the spot halfway at the turnarounds. And I mean, we figured it out, but we got it. So you have to be prepared for anything. Flat tire is definitely the most common thing. So yeah, I got a video coming with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so if we can get you on, let's help them do that one. So I said, if we can learn one a month, I think we can commit to that. Once we get up to like 8, then we might be like, well, what the hell should we show them next? But I think if we look at the general things, that obviously change a tire. I think changing cassettes, I think most, somebody will get a cassette. They'll never change it. They don't even know what the cassette they have on their bike is. And I'll ask somebody, well, what gears do you have? I don't know. Well, count the fucking teeth.
Yeah. Like to show how much a nerd I am, I've got a gearing ratio cycling specific book on my bookshelf.
Yeah. So, and
maybe that matters. Maybe that's a freaking place to start. Let's do a bike anatomy video.
Yeah.
What all this stuff is.
Yeah, but if some people were wondering, well, why is my cadence 65? Because you don't have enough gears. The course that you're riding, you don't have enough gears. Like, you need more gears. Well, I feel more comfortable at 60. Well, you suck at 60. Okay, you need to be up between 80 and 100. Whatever. I'm just throwing stuff out there, but yeah. I think everybody can improve their bike knowledge. We know tires. I think everybody needs to know how to change a cassette. I think that I know that's a kind of a more advanced one, but it requires some specialty tools, but not really that hard. Adjust a derailleur, like basic adjustments. I'm not saying that you can, you need to do exactly everything a bike tech can do, but if you're not shifting, you need to know which way to turn the damn barrel to get that thing to shift correctly. Adjust your brakes. I have an article come up, at least a topic. I almost thought about starting a social media, like I don't know, like one of those handles that's just there to make fun of triathlon. It was going to be triathlon excuses. How many times, it probably exists already.
Brake rub.
So how many times has somebody said, oh, my brakes were rubbing? Were they really rubbing? And then why didn't you flip the fucking thing up? Like, they don't even know to do that. Like, okay, your brake rub is done. Okay, flip the damn thing up. What do they call that? I don't even know what that's called. Go to Park Tool and look it up. I don't know what that thing's called. Just flip the lever up on your brakes. And
so you can put the wheel in and out.
Yeah. So there's that. Definitely be able to adjust your brakes. I think some people have these nice fancy, carbon wheels, and they don't even take the time to change out their brake pads into a carbon specific brake pad, and they're putting all of their aluminum right into their nice fresh carbon. I love that. That's so much fun. But anyway, Colin, I'm tasking you with that. Don't let our athletes down. Let's shoot for one a month. We'll throw it out there, one a month, and see what we come up with. And Coach Anthony will have to learn, because that guy doesn't know anything about how to adjust the
I don't know shit about a bike. I can ride one with my kids.
Yeah.
They're even faster than me.
Yeah. All right. So, final thoughts on New Year's resolutions. Let's wrap this puppy up.
Man,
Final
consistent.
comments?
Yeah, consistency. I think whether you just pick one thing or you can do all of the things, you got to be consistent day in and day out. You have to commit to, changing and making that necessary improvement on your performance and on your life.
Okay. Before we move on to Anthony, well, that was kind of positive. I was going to say one positive thing. You got anything else? That was, yeah. All right. Be consistent, Anthony.
Yeah, I would say
It's got to be positive.
Positive.
Yes, I like it.
Well, all right. So set many goals that you can hit, so you can feel that success and then move on to the next mini goal. Feel those successes and you'll be able to be consistent and you'll actually like what you're doing. Also, measure more than one thing. If you have a weight loss goal, also do a body comp goal. You might not be losing weight, but you might be gaining muscle at the same time. It'd be nice to know that info. So measure more than one thing and have smart goals that are realistic and you can hit weekly. You can hit every other week. That'll make you feel like you're having some success.
So I guess mine will be, 2019, let's make it your best year yet. We'll just keep it simple. There's no reason, it can't be your best year yet. So everybody has that opportunity. We got a clean slate here at the beginning of the year. Make it your best year yet.
Yeah, get better every day.
Absolutely. All right, so that kind of wraps up this one. If you guys are looking, if you're just tuning in, where to find us, you can find most of our social media. You can find us at IREP Athletics. You would find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Look up IREP Athletics. You would find us there. Our website would be irepathletics.com. If you're looking for a training plan, you would go to thetrainingplansource.com. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at podcast@irepathletics.com. Any training related performance questions, you can hit it at coach@irepathletics.com. I think that's all we got, guys. Until next time.
I think we're good.
Our goals, we are going to be doing this more consistently. So we promise to be better. I don't think we can get worse than a year hiatus. So, our last one was Ironman Louisville 2017. So we will do better and look for more of these coming your way. All right. Take it easy, guys.
Namaste.
And that concludes the IREP Triathlon podcast. We encourage you to visit irepathletics.com to learn more about our coaching services. All questions and comments can be directed to podcast@irepathletics.com. We thank you for tuning in, and until next time, do something to make sure that you respond, evolve, perform.